Hey guys, what's up? Just wanted to throw this out here. After I played Daylight and I kind of gave my thoughts and opinions on it. I got online, and I don't generally read a lot of reviews before a game comes out that I've been following heavily because if I'm interested in a game, then I read the articles, I watch the pre-release videos, which if you have any interest in Alien Isolation, check out and I hate to say it because I'm not a huge IGN fan, but IGN's got a pretty good video where a bunch of like 12 of their staffers or something like that went and played a level, and it you got to watch it. It looks like that game looks like it's going to be intense, and I hope I'm not let down. But at any rate, I follow the pre-release stuff, and generally I have a pretty good idea of what I'm getting into when I get the game in my hands. So that being said, after I played Daylight and I kind of had formed my views on it, I was like, let me go see what other people were saying. So I read Jim Sterling's review, and he kind of touched upon the same points I did. IGN kind of same way. But across the board, there was a couple good reviews. Like I think I might have seen like two or three 8 out of 10s or something like that. And I hate numbered scores and especially decimal points. That's just retarded. But at any rate, but for the most part, it was kind of mixed to low, I would say. And you know, that's fine. You know, I generally I've played games that have gotten universally praised and didn't like them. Uh, Case in point, Titanfall. I don't have any interest in Titanfall. I don't have any interest in trying it out, even if it ever goes on sale. It just doesn't. It's not something I'm into. Call of Duty usually gets pretty good scores. I don't have any interest in. I haven't played a Call of Duty game in 2 or 3 years. Um, a couple others. But and on the flip side, there's games that got pretty panned, and I sort of enjoyed. I kind of like. I'll admit, I kind of liked Resident Evil 6. Was it perfect? No, um, but I didn't expect it to be perfect. But I still had fun with the game. There was some part I wasn't big on the Jake Mueller section. I liked Leon's campaign, uh, and yes, Chris's campaign was very Gears of Zombies, and I liked Ada's campaign. But it was a fun enough game that like I played it with a friend of mine on PlayStation Network. I mean, I platinumed that game. I loved it. And but it was fun to me. And that's ultimately what gaming is about to me is having fun. And if somebody doesn't like a game I like or likes a game that I don't like, I'm not going to argue with them. I think I've mentioned before, a friend of mine hates well, he might not hate, but he doesn't like Final Fantasy 13. I liked Final Fantasy 13. The story was piss poor, and yeah, it was pretty linear, but the combat, I enjoyed the combat in Final Fantasy 13 enough that that's what kept me playing it. Now I haven't finished 13.2 or Lightning Returns yet, but the combat in Lightning Returns is probably about as close to being perfect as that little trilogy can be. Now, anyways, I'm getting off topic here. But the thing I noticed is, and this is reviews in general, if someone likes the game and say the reviewer gives it a lower score, they rage. There's this thing on Twitter over the couple days ago. This dude was raging the fuck out about, I think it was Miramasa the Demon Blade, and I never played it, but I mean, he was sending Tara Long, Adam Sessler, and Morgan Webb off the top of my head. He was just sending him these fucking hate-filled tweets and just being a cock because of, I guess, Miramasa didn't make it on some list he thought it should make it onto or something like that. And that's fine if, okay, they didn't praise a game that you liked, but don't be such a dick, And people wonder why there's this stigma around the gaming culture, and I have a couple more things I want to address about gaming culture, but I tried doing that and I couldn't fit it within the length of this video, so I probably have two more that I'll put out next week about my thoughts on certain aspects of gaming culture. But to agree or disagree, whether you disagree with a positive or a negative review, there's nothing wrong with that because everybody is different. Everybody's brain is different. Not everybody thinks the same
Alright.
thing is fun, and not everybody thinks the same thing is awesome, And
Ow.
there's going to be differences, and
You
that's
don't.
why there's so many
Pissing
different types of
goes.
games. But being an asshole in the comments section of a review because you have a difference in opinion is not constructive in any way, shape, or form. It just makes you look like a dick. And you know, this whole
Wait,
stigma
I gotta skip this
that
dude.
surrounds the gaming community is not going to go away if people are acting like assholes and children over stupid shit like an 8.9 or a 8.0 or a fucking 3,
They don't do anything.
And you can have, if you disagree, try to have a constructive conversation about it,
So
Maybe
I can make my
I'm not saying you're going to
calculations
change anybody's mind over it, and I'm not just talking about reviewers. I'm talking about just like your neighbor or whoever the fuck you hang around with
not
that plays
sure what
games.
purpose that serves yet.
But like the Final Fantasy 13 thing. Once I said what I liked about the game and what I enjoyed, he was like, I get that, and I understand why he didn't like it. He had perfectly valid complaints towards the game, and there's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm disconnected. I'm never playing a game with you again. Fuck you. I don't even want to talk to you. But these people, like, they send these guys messages or they put messages on there like, oh, your opinion is wrong. You should end your life now. And
Hmm.
since there's no repercussion because you're invisible behind the screen name, you can say whatever you want on the internet. It doesn't matter. But you're not furthering your cause by acting like a fucking 5-year-old and telling somebody they should kill themselves because
Wonder how many
they
videos are worth
liked
if the game crashes.
Call of Duty or they didn't like BioShock Infinite, or actually that game's pretty divisive. I didn't realize how divisive that game was. But at the end of the day, with this whole rise in nerd culture that's been going about for the last couple years or so, where it's cool to be a nerd and be in the gaming, which is weird because it's like cool to be in the gaming now, but there's still this like you're a gamer thing. But at any rate, um, you know, more often than not, you're not going to see positive news stories in mainstream news about gaming culture. Take, for instance, the guy that called the SWAT team on the dude that beat him at a Call of Duty match. That, I'm sure, would be, you're going to see that on ESPN and CNN, or not ESPN, what the fuck am I thinking? That's a different rant. You're going to see that on CNN before you see the story about the 9-year-old that saved up forever to buy a PlayStation 4 and ended up buying smoke detectors for his neighborhood. You don't see the positive stories or anything like that, or the people that met playing WoW and ended up getting married and they're living happily ever after, sitting in the living room playing WoW or whatever. You're going to see the story about, and it's fucked up that it's become what it has become, and I don't know how much of it's, and I don't think it's inherently a gaming culture problem. I think it's a human nature problem. The human race is seriously in need of some tuning because chances are the guy that suffocates his baby because it's crying while he's trying to play Call of Duty probably would have suffocated the baby if it was crying when he was trying to watch his favorite movie that he's not going to, or, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be gaming related to for something tragic like that to happen. But, with all these tragedies that happen that somehow gaming is involved, like the guy that tried to suffocate his kid or the dickhead that called the SWAT team and stuff like that. Those news stories get put out there on these mainstream media sites. So then you have this generation of older people that don't quite understand gaming culture, and they're oh, games are bad, and then you get these dickheads in Washington that are like, oh, we gotta ban games and ban violent games, and they're affecting our youth, and they're sitting around playing Call of Duty and eating chicken wings off the bone, so they're going to be violent Neanderthals. If you don't know what I'm talking about with the chicken wings and shit, you got to read that news article. But anyways, uh, you know, there's this negative air about it already because of mainstream media, and then you get on these message boards. Like if a reporter tries to do any research and they get on these message boards and shit, and they see some of these comments, you're not helping your cause. You know, you're furthering the stereotype that these people already have in their mind about gaming culture when they get on there and they see these people sending journalists "fuck you, I hope you die" tweets and acting like complete fucking dickholes on the message boards and the forums and stuff like that on IGN or Destructoid or the Escapist or whatever website they happen to go and look at. So I mean, if you can't, like, I don't know what they think's gonna happen by acting like an asshole like that, because all you're doing is making yourself, and in the long run, the entire community as a whole look like assholes, you know. And part of me, like, I'm split. I am not ashamed of my hobbies, you know. I mean, I have some nerdy hobbies. I still collect action figures. I got, you know, I play games and shit like that. I listen to heavy metal. Um, but at the same time, you know, when people are like, "What do you do for fun?" You know, this and that. You know, I don't want, like, you know, because I feel like if I say, "Oh, I'm a gamer," then people are like, "Oh, you're one of those people." You know, it's just that it's not. There's that air of immaturity around it, and I know I guess technically I'm not helping the cause by not admitting freely that I am a gamer and I like nerdy shit like comic books and comic book movies and horror movies and stuff like that, and I that's something I think I'm gonna start working on. I'm not gonna be like the shameful nerd, you know, like, oh, uh, I play games. I'm just from now I'm like, fuck it, yeah. I go home, work out, do some shit around the house, clean up the house, and if there's nothing else to do, I sit down and I'll play a fucking game for hours if I can, you know. And there's nothing wrong with being a gamer, but like I said, the public perception isn't there because you have these stories that get put on the mainstream media websites and news outlets and stuff like that that talk about all these negative things that happen in gaming, and there is a lot of negative things that happen in gaming. But if that perception is ever going to get turned around, you know, we as a community, as a culture, we can't let these handful of dickheads label have us be labeled because they want to be dickheads, or they think they can be a dickhead because they have the power of the internet at their hands and the blanket of anonymity, you know. And we got to do those of us that are, you know, inclusive and cool and don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white, yellow, red, green, male, woman, both, you know, whatever. I think we all need to step up a little bit more and be like, there's nothing wrong with being a gamer. I'm a perfectly functioning, well, semi perfectly functioning 31-year-old man that has a full time job. I am a mechanic at a plastics plant, for Christ's sakes, you know. Granted, I work midnights. That kind of might be detrimental. That might be more detrimental to my mental stability than playing video games. But you know, I work 40 hours a week. I have a son that I raise. I am teaching him there's nothing wrong with liking the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and shit like that, and he's into all that nerdy stuff too. Um, but you know, and I know people that they fucking go to the gym and work out and go home and they're relaxed, they'll fucking throw in a game and play an RPG or something like that. But we gotta. I think we gotta do more to show that gaming isn't this big batch of evil people that sit in their basement and call the cops on somebody that beats them or DDoSes their website because they don't like an opinion they have, or kills their children because they interrupted their last Call of Duty match, or whatever, or duct tapes them to the wall, or whatever fucking crazy shit's gone on over the years. Um, so I guess really what I'm trying to say is the people that are good and honest and decent people that are gamers, we got to make sure we're louder than those assholes is what it all boils down to. And I think it could happen, but I think it's going to take too long to happen. And I mean, the government's already trying to take your hobby and control it. There was the whole thing in California with the Violent Video Games Act and all that, and everybody wants to talk about how America is the land of the free and all that, and slowly but surely, it, they will try to find ways to take away your little freedoms and stuff like that. And someday when you wake up and you can't buy GTA 6 because some asshole fucking did something stupid and they find out he played GTA 5, you know, you're going to sit there and you're like, "Oh, fuck. Now what?" You know? So I think that's just kind of, and I probably sound like a hippie, spread positive peace, love, man. But no, I think those of us that are into the culture and love and respect the culture and are decent people, we just got to start doing more to show that there's nothing wrong with people that are in gaming culture and nerd culture in general. I mean, well, you don't really hear too many bad stories about comic book people fucking killing somebody over Action Comics #1 or anything like that. Sure, it's happened at some point though. But and you don't want to be labeled with those fucking dickheads that are clearly they have mental issues beyond the fact that they play games. Like I said, the guy that beats up his kid because he or kills his kid or does anything to his child because he interrupted his Call of Duty match. There was deep-seated issues there long before the guy played Call of Duty, but nobody's gonna look at that. They're just gonna be like, "Oh well, he was playing a violent game and killed somebody." And it's a tragedy that stuff happens, and I hate to see it happen, especially when children are hurt. As a father, I've become a little bit more sensitive to news stories when it comes to something bad happening to a child. And truthfully, like I don't know how some of these people can do. Like I can't even fathom intentionally hurting my child in a violent manner for any reason. But I've always sort of been kind of a pacifist. But I just don't like conflict. It's not worth my time to deal with it. If you're an asshole, I'll just take my leave as opposed to fighting with you. But I think a lot of people, we could very well have the things that we enjoy and love and help, you know, like I know when I have a bad day at work or something, it's nice to come home and play a game and just be like, oh, relax and unwind. And if that would get taken away because people are dickheads, then what? I don't always feel like picking up a guitar or whatever. And reading a book or a movie doesn't always. I mean, it's not gonna Sometimes it does, but it's nice to be able to just fire up Goat Simulator and destroy a city with a goat and blow off some steam. Yeah. So, you know, I guess what I'm saying, guys, is there's a lot of you, the cool people and decent people far outweigh the amount of assholes that are out there on the internet and in gaming. And I think we just got to do more to make sure that the rest of the world knows that there is more of the good people than there are the rotten people. And that's any culture, music, movies, everything. But gaming's the one that seems to have the biggest stigma against it as far as um, the amount of negativity around it. So, in essence, guys, just keep being awesome and try to promote your awesomeness. Helps motivate me a little bit more to put a video up or anything like that. And just in case the question inevitably gets brought up, you'll probably never get face cam videos from me. They'll probably always be gameplay with me talking because the money I could spend on a webcam I could save and spend on a game. Plus, I don't want to scare you guys away. And you know, sometimes if I'm feeling dapper and I got some decent clothing on, I'm quite the sexy beast. So I don't want all these women stalking me or anything like that. But anyways, guys, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, have a good one.